Mr. Speaker, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole
Mr.
House
Speaker, I rise
has
to
considered
report
the
the
National
Committee
Health
of the
Insurance
Whole House
Authority
has
Bill
considered
2026,
the National
and passed
Health
it without
Insurance
amendment.
Authority
I
Bill
now move the third
2026
reading of that bill.
and passed it without amendment. I now move the third
Honorable
reading.
members, the question is that the bill for an act to repeal the
Honorable
NHI
members, the
provisions
question is that
contained
the bill
under
for an act to
Part
repeal the
7
NHI
of the Social
provisions
Security Act,
contained under
Chapter 44,
Part 7
of
of
the
the
Social Security Act, Chapter 44 of the Substances Law of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and place them under this Act to establish the administrative framework and other necessary mechanisms to enable the provisions of equitable, accessible, affordable, and quality healthcare services to all eligible persons for the attainment of universal healthcare coverage, to facilitate people-centered healthcare that meets the needs of the population, to promote efficiency in healthcare administrative operations, to enable sustainability through appropriate allocations of resources in healthcare, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidentals thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Bill for an act to repeal the NHI provisions contained under Part 7 of the Social Security Act, Chapter 47 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Caribbean Community Free Movement and Contingent Rights Bill 2026 and passed it with amendments. I now move the third reading.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to give effect to the decisions of the heads of government of CARICOM to authorize nationals of the participating member states to enter, re-enter, and remain freely within Belize in accordance with the provisions of the Protocol on Enhanced Cooperation and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Bill for an act to give effect to the decision of the heads of government of CARICOM.
I recognize the Honorable Minister of Human Development, Family Support, and Gender Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Domestic and Intimate Partner Amendment Bill 2026 and passed it with amendments. I now move the third reading of that bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to recognize the rights of all persons to live free of domestic violence and intimate partner violence, to expand the powers of the court to make orders to support survivors, to increase accessibility to justice services, to fulfill Belize's commitment under international conventions for all persons to live free of violence, to repeal the Domestic Violence Act, Chapter 178 of the Substantive Law of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Bill for an act to recognize the right of all persons to live free of domestic violence and intimate partner violence.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House do now adjourn. I do move that the House do adjourn.
I recognize the member from Mesopotamia.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak on a matter of national importance. Mr. Speaker, permission to refer to my notes, please. I rise today on a matter affecting every household, every business, every farmer, every worker, and every student in this country. the rising cost of transportation, and the dangerous implications it is having on the Belizean economy. Transportation is not a luxury. Transportation is the backbone of commerce. Transportation is the engine of our economy. Because fuel does not only move vehicles, Mr. Speaker. Fuel moves food, medicine, construction materials, workers. Fuel moves tourism. Fuel moves Belize. And when fuel prices rise, everything rises with it, Mr. Speaker. Today, Belizeans are living through the reality. Families are feeling it at the supermarket. They are feeling it at pump. They are feeling it in bus fares. They are feeling it in the electricity and utility bills. Mr. Speaker, the people are asking a very simple question. How much more can we take? How much more licking is this government going to give us? Because every week, the dollar is buying less and less. And the numbers confirm what people are already feeling in their pockets. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to rely on facts. Facts published by the Statistical Institute of Belize. According to SIB Official Consumer Report Index release, January 2026, national inflation stood at 0.04%. February 2026, overall inflation climbed to 0.7%. March 2026, all items consumer price index rose to 121.9, up from 119.7 in March 2025, reflecting a national inflation rate of 1.9%. By April 2026, the CPI had jumped to 123.2, up from 119 in April 2025, pushing national inflation to 2.9%. And the single largest driver of that April spike, Mr. Speaker, is transportation costs. Up 8% year on year and 4.2% in the single month between March and April 2026 alone. Transport, food, and housing-related expense together accounted for more than 3/4 of the overall rise in consumer prices in April. When government says inflation is under control, I say, go ask the bus riders, go ask the taxi man, go ask the mothers buying groceries, go ask the farmers trying to move produce, go ask the small business owners. Because the reality on the ground tells a different story from what we sometimes hear from the government. Mr. Speaker, let me put fuel prices increase on the record with every figure sourced so no one can dispute what is happening at the pump. Diesel, May 2025, 11.66. May 2026, 15.85. That's a $4.19 change, rise 36%. Regular, 11.25, 2025. May 2026, 13.61, $2.36 change. That's a 21% increase, Mr. Speaker. Premium gasoline, 12.40 in 2025. May 2026, 14.61. That's a $2.20 change, Mr. Speaker, 18%. LPG, butane, 127.63 for 100 pound. May 2026, $142. That's a $14.37 increase, 11%. On the night of March 12, 2026, Mr. Speaker, Belizeans learned from the grapevine, not from the government press conference, not from a ministry announcement, but from the grapevines that premium gasoline would rise from $12.53 to $13.76 per gallon, and regular from $11.77 to $13.02. No public notice, Mr. Speaker. Residents across Belize rushed to gas stations before midnight to fill their tanks before the increase took place. Less than 2 weeks later, diesel surged by $2.50 per gallon. In one news outlet described the shock as ripple immediately from water taxes to cane fuel. And as of this time that I rise today, Mr. Speaker, in Belize City, premium stands at $15.46. Mr. Speaker, these increases do not stop at the gas station. They spread through the economy like wildfire. When diesel rises, truckers pay more, the farmers pay more, the bus operators pay more, the store owners pay more, and eventually, the Belizean consumer pays more. Mr. Speaker, I want this House to look at what our neighbors are paying for fuel, because this comparison is one of the most powerful arguments that something is structurally wrong with how fuel costs are managed in Belize. In Belize, like I said just now, $15.46 per gallon. Guatemala, $10.90 per gallon, 30% cheaper. Honduras, $10.14 per gallon, 34% cheaper. Panama, $9.54 a gallon, 38% cheaper. El Salvador, $8.96, 42% cheaper. Mr. Speaker, even if they get a better price for large orders, order in a bulk, it can't be that much of a difference, as the PM stated, as one of the reasons fuel cost is so high in Belize. Every single one of our Central American neighbors is paying dramatically less for the same fuel from the same international market. A Belizean in Corozal can see cheaper fuel across the Rio Hondo into Mexico. A farmer in Cayo knows fuel across the western border is 30% less. And our fishing communities in the south pay past $14 in gallon can look to Honduras and see fuel at roughly $10.40 a gallon. And yes, Mr. Speaker, I understand that Belize imports refined petroleum products and does not have a domestic refinery. I understand the global oil market is volatile. I understand the acquisition cost doubled from January to May 2026. I will get to that though. But understanding the cause of the problem and having no plan to address it are two different things. And that is where the government falls short. Mr. Speaker, according to figures released by the Financial Secretary, the landed cost of imported regular gasoline into Belize rose from $4.62 per gallon in January 2026 to $9.39 in May. Diesel climbed from $5.44 to $10.11 in just 5 months. The raw cost of bringing fuel into Belize before a single cent of tax is being doubled. The government has responded by cutting fuel tax. Excise tax on regular fuel were reduced from $4.80 to $3.81 per gallon. Diesel taxes were also cut. That is just excise tax being cut, Mr. Speaker. No reduction in GST or ET. The Prime Minister confirmed that the government has already lost approximately $80 million in fuel revenue. What the PM failed to mention is that the environmental tax and GST tax is a percentage tax. So the higher the acquisition cost, the more ET and GST the government collects. So in reality, the government did not lose $80 million as was claimed. Environmental tax and GST made up for majority of the loss. Do the maths. Yes, they lose some money, but they never lose $80 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, after a national bus crisis that brought highways to a standstill, after bus operators blockaded the Philip Golson Highway, April 2026, the Prime Minister came forward with a response. He announced a $3 gas subsidy for private bus operators for 3 months. And he announced that to fund this, Cabinet agreed to a $55 million cut in the budget. His exact words, as reported by Mandela on April 28, 2026, were, first, we will defer $30 million capital expenditures previously programmed for this year's budget, Minister, capital expenditures. Secondly, $25 million will be cut from goods and services allocated across all ministries and departments. The Prime Minister also stated that social safety net spending will not be disrupted, and I thank him for that. That includes grocery bag, boost, housing for single mother programs would continue, education, scholarships, early start, school feeding program, all of those will be maintained. I accept those assurances. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. But, Mr. Speaker, this raises more questions and answers. $30 million deferred in capital expenditures. Which projects, which contracts, which communities will wait longer for road repairs, which village infrastructure is being pushed back? We want to know. $25 million cut from goods and services across all ministries and departments. Which ministries? Will health supplies be reduced? Will school maintenance be delayed? Will social workers have less to work with? Will the police department or operational budget be cut? We want to know. Transparency, transparency cannot be selective, Mr. Speaker. You cannot announce that you cut $55 million and then ask the country to trust you without an explanation. Belizeans deserve more than just headlines. They deserve a line-by-line breakdown, because it is the people of Belize who will feel the cuts, and it is not in cabinet boardrooms where these decisions are made. Mr. Speaker, the issue becomes even more troubling when we examine government broader spending priorities. Fiscal year 2026-2027 budget allocates $606 million in capital projects described as the highest capital investment in Belize history. At a time when families struggle with transportation costs and rising inflation. Government continues pushing multiple major infrastructure projects simultaneously, namely the Pelican Bridge, the Swing Bridge, the George Price Highway Lot 1 and 3.
Mr. Speaker.
Million upon millions.
Mr. Speaker.
Is that a point of order, Minister?
Yes, it's a point of order.
You need to state so, please.
It's a point of order, Mr. Speaker. It's been a long day, Mr. Speaker, but the member started speaking about, issues within the bus industry. But he is now speaking about infrastructure and budgets. The standing orders are clear on, on a matter of public interest. You speak on one matter only. All right, thank you.
Mr. Speaker, can I give my explanation before you make a determination?
No, member, I was just at the point of highlighting.
No, Mr. Speaker, 1 second.
No,
Let me respond. I am to speak on the rising cost of
member
transportation.
From Mesopotania, can you please allow me to finish? I was just about to remind you about standing order number 14. You can speak on a matter of urgent importance and for the public, but it is only one. You started with transportation, you then moved to fuel, you are done on budget. Can you please summarize your matter to one item?
Mr. Speaker, my topic is the rising cost of transportation and the dangerous implication it is having on the Belizean economy. All these things that I mentioned in this right here has to do with transportation costs and the Belizean economy. Nothing else. Nothing else. Gas, fuel, food, inflation, everything has to do with the economy of Belize and the cost of transportation. You see, ministers, Prime Minister, my topic, when I said it out earlier, and I read it out to the Speaker, is the rising cost of transportation and the dangerous implication it is having on the Belizean economy. Everything that I'm saying has to do with the Belizean economy. Fuel price, tax price, inflation, everything that I say has to do with it. Just let me make and finish it and then we're done, boss. Right? A minister from Toledo, when you get up and you want to interrupt me, it's a point of order. Okay, so you need to say it, I need to remind you.
Yes, but member from Mesopotamia, I must remind you, you're standing on a point of adjournment, which is 1 point only. So if it is on transportation, please continue your presentation on transportation.
Mr. Speaker, how the transportation move, Mr. Speaker? How the transportation move? That will move it. If I find the notes there, I'll just tell you about just now. Enough. Enough, you know why enough? because the people they suffer with this high gas prices. We need to bring awareness. We need to bring down the gas price. No. One thing I know do I understand. Whatever I say is important to this country. My topic is what I just said just now to the minister just now. The rising cost of transportation and the dangerous implication it is having on the Belizean economy. That is my topic. And Mr. Speaker, he heard it and I continued. Yes, okay. Good, thank you. Millions upon millions being spent simultaneously. And the government will say these are grants and loans. And there is some truth to that, Mr. Speaker. But Belize will still spend tens of millions of dollars and assumes long-term debt obligation that burdens the Belizean people and add to the national debt, which the budget itself already projects at 66.7% of GDP. And let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, nobody is against development. I know they're against development. Nobody is against roads, but development must have priorities. Because road alone cannot solve hardships, Mr. Speaker. We cannot eat streets. A family struggling to buy fuel cannot feed their children with asphalt. A taxi operator cannot pay their bills with ribbon cutting. That is the economy of Belize, right, Mr. Speaker? All of those are economy of Belize and the transportation costs. A farmer cannot move produce with press releases. And so has this government. In a time of fuel crisis, in a time of rising cost of living, in a time when bus strikes brought the country to a standstill, is this the right moment to be spending $606 million in capital projects? And maybe the Prime Minister might make right, like how he cut the $55 million. The answer is a simple yes or no. Mr. Speaker, let us speak plainly about what happened in April 2026. And this is part of the transportation, the Bus Association. The Belize Bus Association, where members carried thousands of working Belizeans on fixed routes every day, declared their cost structure unmanageable. Bus owners warned that unless government removed GST from fuel, provide a subsidy or approved higher fares, bus service would stop as early as April 2026. Government initially refused all three proposals and asked operators to exercise patience and wait to see if global prices would come down. Exercise patience, that was government transport policy in April 2026, Mr. Speaker. And then the highways were blocked, commuters were stranded, businesses were affected, schools were disrupted, and only then did the government rush forward to give a $3 subsidy and fuel adjustments. My question is simple, Mr. Speaker. Why wait until the country is pushed to the edge? Why wait until the highways are blocked? Why wait until public pressure is forced? A government that waits for crisis before acting is not managing. It is reacting. And let us be honest, the bus strike did not create the problem. The strike exposed the problem. Because for months, Belizeans were warning about the rising fuel prices and transportation costs. Yet, instead of long-term solutions, we continue to get short-term patches. We continue to get announcements. We continue to get public relations. But where is the plan? Where is the policy? Where is Plan Belize 1.0? Where is Plan Belize 2.0? Cabinet approved the fare increase effective April 24, 2026. You're not getting no 3.0, Minister. You're not getting no 3.0, no worry. You're not getting no 3.0 at all. When you could continue down this path, I say, I'll catch you no. When you could continue down this path, I say, I'll catch you no. You see, Mr. Speaker, sometimes you get drunk by your own supply. You get high by your own supply. Right? You drink your own Kool-Aid. Anyway, we can veer off. Cut that or veer off, okay? I admit when I veer off, okay? But I'm speaking on inflation and transportation. And cost of living, yes. Madam, Mr. Speaker, a worker commuting from San Ignacio to Belize City and back, a reality for many Belizeans, is now spending $24 a day on bus fare alone with express service. The national wage minimum is $5 per hour. And I hear, yes, maybe they get $6 per hour. So let's say, you know what, they work $6 an hour and you get $8 hours. So it equals to $48, Mr. Speaker. But I am spending, listen to me, right? I am spending 50% of my day's wages on transport before even buying a shilling water. And for residents of Ambergris-Caye, who are already faced with water tax increase twice already this year. One resident said, just to get off the island is almost $100 for a round trip to Belize City. And now traveling further inland will cost even more, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is why transportation costs are no longer simply a transport issue. It is now a national economic issue, Mr. Speaker. And the connection between transport and food inflation is direct and documented. The SIB, Statistical Institute, April 2026 Consumer Price Index confirmed that food and non-alcoholic beverages rose 2.6% year on year. This is because the transportation costs gone up, Mr. Speaker. Driven by increase in meat, sugar, coffee, soft drink, and fruits. I will speed up my preparation process so we could go, okay? Sugar recorded one of the steepest increase, rising by more than 19%. Only 8 o'clock, man. Johnson closed 10. Right up open right here. The farmers in Orangewa must move his products. The farmer in Cayo must move his products. The farmer in Stan Creek depends on transportation. When transportation costs rise, food costs rise. This is why transportation in... Mr. Speaker, I give him a topic already and have not derailed from it. I've said everything on that. The one where I admit to. That's why transportation inflation and food inflation are connected. One drives the other. And then government tells Belizean that inflation is imported. Mr. Speaker, some inflation is indeed global. We understand that, Mr. Speaker. We understand that. Especially when the Prime Minister always said, good businessman, and thank you for that. But leadership is not measured by whether global problem exists. Leadership is measured by how you cushion your people from those problems. That is a real test, Mr. Speaker, and too many Belizeans are feeling they are carrying the burden alone. Mr. Speaker, the Belizean people remember when politicians who now sit on the government side were in opposition. They knew exactly how much tax was charged on fuel. They knew exactly what should be reduced. They knew exactly how relief should happen. They spoke loudly and publicly about it. But now in government, I know they hear nothing. Or when they do speak, it is to explain why prices cannot come down. The Ministry of Finance stopped publishing detailed fuel price breakdowns showing excise duty, acquisition costs, and margin costs in September 2023. Since then, there has been no centralized public tool for Belizeans to understand what they are paying for. A private policy tracker website attempted to fill the gap. Government recently restored some transparency when the Financial Secretary published the landed cost data. It should not take a national bus crisis and a crisis to compel the government to share fuel pricing breakdown with the citizens who are paying it, Mr. Speaker. Belizeans are asking, what change? What is the difference? The answer cannot be just that governing is harder. The country deserves transparent, regular fuel price communication from the Ministry of Finance. People need to know when they pay for, and just slap a tax on it and they don't know what happened. Not leak documents. The only way we know when gas rise is when documents get leaked, Mr. Speaker. Nobody will tell me nothing. Mr. Speaker, the consequences of rising fuel and transport costs extends beyond the family grocery basket. They extend to two engines of our national economy, tourism and agriculture. Tourism depends on affordable transportation, Mr. Speaker. When fuel rises, tour operator pays more, hotel pays more, airport transfers pay more, domestic travel costs more, and Belize become more expensive destination at the very moment when we need to be competitive. Agriculture suffers in the same way, Mr. Speaker. Sugar, citrus, banana, marine products, all of these industries require diesel to operate. Transportation costs, economy. Our leader of the opposition said, diesel increase is a crushing blow to the productive backbone of the country. Small business, corner shop, the bakery, the market vendors, the mobile food operators, are the economic backbone of communities like those in Mesopotamia. They cannot hedge against fuel prices. They cannot pass on the cost. They either absorb or they close, Mr. Speaker. Construction costs increase when materials cost more to move. Healthcare becomes less accessible when it costs more to travel to a clinic. Electricity is already up early this year and going up again. Butane gone up. Everything they go up. Mr. Speaker, here are 4 suggestions for the government. Free of cost, and I'll start for these suggestions, free of cost suggestions. We are asking for fairness. We are asking for honesty. We are asking for planning. We are asking for relief. Even the Belize Chamber of Commerce wrote a letter to the PM asking for relief, Mr. Speaker. The Belize Chamber of Commerce, where we represent majority of the businesses in Belize, is asking for relief. The members, they will complain bitterly, Mr. Speaker, that we must do something about this fuel price. $15 a gallon, really not to kick it. First, publish the complete breakdown of the $55 million in cuts by the ministry, by program, by contract. Not by guessing, no hiding, no selective disclosure. If the $30 million in capital projects is being deferred, name which projects. If the $25 million in goods and services is being cut across ministries, name which ministries and by how much. Transparency cannot be selective, Mr. Speaker. Please remember, it is our money you are spending and not your own. Second, conduct and publish a transparent review of the full fuel pricing structure, acquisition costs, taxes and margins, and present the real option for relief. The Ministry of Finance stopped publishing it in September 2023. That must be restored, Mr. Speaker. Belizeans have a right to know what they are paying for and why. After all, it is their money, the people's money. Third, bring a national transportation strategy to this House, not a 3-month patch. A strategy that covers bus, freight movement, tourism, transportation, student, workers, and long-term affordability, Mr. Speaker. That includes the question of why bus operators were pushed to the edge of a national strike before anyone moved to help them. Fourth, stop treating economic hardship as a temporary inconvenience and beginning treating it as a priority it has become. Because every increase at the pump becomes another increase in the grocery shelf, another increase in the bus fare, another increase in the cost of survival. And when the gas pump becomes Belize's newest economic crisis, the answer from government cannot be, please exercise patience. Mr. Speaker, I come here today with facts, and I think long and hard for my topic. And when I speak the truth, you see what people try to shut me down? Yes. You see what people try to shut me down, Mr. Speaker? Yes. I had to literally explain to you that everything that I said is covered under transportation and the economic hardships of Belize. Every figure I have cited is sourced from the SIB of Belize and from the Ministry of Finance, from the Financial Secretary's own published statements, from the National Assembly's own budget documents, and from Belize news outlets. I say this to government: if the numbers are wrong, correct them. I could stand corrected. If the facts are incorrect, challenge them. But if the numbers are right, and I believe they are, then address them. Want it to be addressed. People need some type of relief. We don't ask them to cut all the taxes. Like when the Prime Minister will say in our opposition, reduce the gas by $2. Reduce it by $2, not $3, just $2. We affect it. We accept it. Because transportation is not a side issue. It's a matter of national importance. It is the engine to our economy, and when the engine becomes too expensive to run, the entire country pays the price. A country cannot drive towards prosperity while its people cannot afford to ride. The people of Mesopotamia and the people of Belize are not asking this government for charity, Mr. Speaker. They are asking for leadership. They are asking for Plan Belize 2.0. The 1.0 don't go, so the 2.0 they want now. They are asking for honesty, Mr. Speaker. They want everybody for win. The people want everybody for win, and that is the truth. They are asking for this same government that promised to govern, for them to actually govern for them, and not after a crisis before it. If government refuses to address transportation costs, inflation, and the pressures on working families, then the Belizean people will continue to ask, who exactly is this government working for? Who is the government working for? Themselves or for the Belizean people? The people will show you how they feel. March 2027. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Dangriga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have quite late, but I'd like to share some truth with the member from Mesop, un poco de la verdad. Shihuashi Shuo. Mr. Speaker, I think if you go and you look at the reality that the world is facing is based on something that you look at any television station that's giving news, you would know. But listening to that presentation, it would seem like we need to share some news that has been going on in the world for some months now. There's been a situation in the Gulf of Hormuz. That is near to Iran. There's been a military conflict going on there, and it has created a problem with world prices for oil. Since January, the prices of Brent crude were in the vicinity of $60 to $65. In February, they fluctuated around $67 to $72. As the saber rattling started, they moved in March from $90 to $103, as you know, as you didn't know, when the war started. That took the world Brent prices from $103 to $138. per barrel. And now in May, it's settling back down to around $93 per barrel. If you go to any country, sir, if you go to any country, next door, everywhere, you will see the impact of this on the price of fuel at the pump. Everywhere, every country across the world. And on the west coast of the United States, prices have gone above $6 per gallon. If you go and do a little research as to why that occurs, it's because the west coast gets a lot of their fuel all the way from the Gulf states. So they have not been immune to that increase in world prices. So to suggest that somehow any particular government anywhere in the world could just address that 100%, that's very naive. We in Belize have done significantly well for our people, given that situation. You would have heard and information we got directly from our FS, our financial secretary, is that we would have been expecting, had this not occurred, over $200 million in tax revenues. But we're just about to be getting about $120 million. That's a reduction of about $80 million. That's what you've heard been reported.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, please. How we could lose so much money in 3 to 4 months when the total revenue tax collected is $260 million for the year. $260 million for the year. So in 4 months we don't lose $100 million?
Member from Mesopotamia.
The numbers are other, Mr. Speaker.
Can
When
we?
you look like when you hear the truth that you jump up, my brother. Relax, take it easy, man. None of us interrupt. I didn't interrupt you, so please.
Members, we're not at the debate phase. We're at the phase of adjournment. Can the member for Dangrega please finish his presentation?
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I won't be too long and burden us much more here. Belize has a narrow tax base, as you would know, and therefore we don't have that latitude like some other countries to have that flexibility with fuel, right? Other countries are able to buy in bulk, and something that I will discuss right now about economies of scale allows for prices to be at least mitigated somewhat when they're able to do that. Now, you've mentioned quite a bit about the bus operators. We have tried very, very, very hard on this end to accommodate the bus operators. And in fact, we had a presentation to your colleague from Queen Square. I thought you were handling the bus thing, but I see you handed it over. And what we've done is that in the first instance, we received the letter from the Bus Association. I presented that to the cabinet, and it was a situation where at that point in time, we were not sure how the prices would have gone, but we made the commitment that if prices would be going up, that we would consider one of those 3 points that they asked. Exemption on duties and taxes on tires and parts, or 2, a direct subsidy, or 3, a fare increase. They came back and asked for a fare increase. They asked that we look at the cents per mile that the fares translate to, and they wanted to get 28 cents per mile. They agreed that they would come back down and request 18 cents per mile. We took that to Cabinet. Cabinet approved a formula that we then took back to them in terms of adjusting the fares. We felt that that was it and that we were in the clear with respect to their requests. They then turned around and said, no, we don't want the fare increase. We would prefer a subsidy. So we brought that back again to Cabinet. Cabinet, in its flexibility and in its goodwill, considered that offer, that request. And that is where, in the negotiations with them, we came up with the $3 per gallon subsidy for 3 months. And so we are already a month into that subsidy. And it did not go just for the highway bus operators. It also included all the village bus operators. It included all the Belize City bus operators. So over 85 bus operators, because of the goodwill and the responsible nature of this government, we were able to provide the $3 per gallon subsidy to all of them. That included, as by the way, the Ministry of Education also assisted all the school bus operators as well. So to suggest that this side did not do anything to address what is clearly a concern for all of us is, as you'd say, kind of disingenuous, if you will. I say, come on, man. We have been bending backwards, right? Bending over backwards to try to accommodate that sector, the bus transportation sector. Yeah, well, hopefully he's listening, And then because, we don't want to stay here too long, I just want to hit the highlights. No, I think he's checking, he's checking to see if there really was a war in the Gulf.
No, he's checking how much people's their lives sound good.
All right. So, future focus, that is what the Briceño administration is about. That is what Plan Belize 2.0 is about, being future focused. That is why the plans for the National Bus Company are unfolding, and you're seeing it day by day. Something that you all said was impossible is now a reality in this country. And we are moving in good timing for electric buses. That is precisely what we're moving on to. And what has happened is that when we brought in all the buses from the different operators, we already knew there were going to be a lot of the buses in a state of disrepair. That is why we had to work so hard to make the change. And so in the interim, the National Bus Company will be acquiring about 15 to 20 newer diesel buses to replace the old buses that are there, because it takes time for the EVs to get here. The EVs are not getting here until the end of the year. The member from Queen Square, we invited you to our ministry and we had a good conversation. We explained the whole plan. We invited all of you, but you were the one who showed up on behalf of your party, and we were glad to have you there along with a senator colleague, and we explained the whole thing, right? And so now, though, we cannot continue to have the commuters suffering out there in those buses, and that is why the NBC, out of its own resources, not from the coffers of the public purse, out of its own resources will be buying 15 to 20 buses to replace the older ones. Better engines, less pollution, and all of that in line with exactly what you said, moving towards electric buses. So that is what a future-focused, responsible government does. And that is what we're promoting. That's why now you have lower taxes for electric vehicles going down to 10%. That is why, because we can foresee that we do not want to be a living based on what is happening around the world, and we, especially with fuel prices, the vagaries of fuel prices should not have us jumping here and there. We want to be able to make those innovative transformations from now to be able to address that. And by the way, what that transition will do, right? What that transition will do is to save us, just from the National Bus Company, 800,000 gallons of diesel a year by the end of next year when the National Bus Company has all EV buses. That is how much we are going to be saving, 800,000 gallons. That's over $12 million a year in foreign exchange. That's a future-focused government. That's who you're dealing with here, my friends, right? So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to make some clarifications, and I hope that now our friends over there are better informed. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Queen Square.
Honorable PM, look like you have somewhere to go tonight, early. Mr. Speaker, I rise on an issue of national concern. I can't leave the building without speaking about the LIU and the 523 city youths that, for lack of a better term, were fired, pushed out, the plug pulled on them without any notice, without any explanation, without even an income to go home with and say, well, this is your last income, 2 weeks pay. I gather not even the LIU management team, Mr. Speaker, not even the LIU management team. We know the rug they get pulled from underneath their foot. That's how bad it was there. This PUP government owes an apology to all the youths in Belize City that they did this to. More than that, this PUP government owes this nation a successful LIU program. It's very, very critical in Belize City that we implement a successful LIU program. Instead of relying on police arrest and police enforcement, we saw the LIU program rise when the government got in 2020, 2021, sometime around there. He brought new strategy. It attempted to address gang violence and crime in a new way, not just by arresting the youth and push them to jail. I think past minister from Caribbean Shores certainly knows that program well. It would be interesting, Mr. Speaker, to hear his position on how they push out the youths to the air, because this now program he has worked on for 5 years, not 6 months like the current minister right now. So if anybody knows about this program, I would want him to stand up. Belize City member, stand up and speak on this issue. Let me put the LIU budget into perspective. The national budget stands at $1.9 billion. The Ministry of Home Affairs receives approximately $115 million a year. The LIU program, if I have it right, gets around $3 million. That accounts for 0.1, not 1% of the budget, 0.16% of the budget. Now, when one part of the budget is so minuscule, 0.16, and you're willing to just destroy that without think, something has to wrong with this government. We need a plan for the LIU, but we also need a bigger budget for the LIU. Or else we are continuing down the tracks of becoming like a Jamaica, like other nations in Central America, whereby crime continues to be rampant. I know it's frustrating when you see youths take the money, do what they want with it. Some of them even use the money from the program and buy criminal. I make no excuse, that's wrong. But we can't just give up on the youth for the wrong. We have to be a government to try to save everybody. Everybody for win. Then, most interesting, the Minister of Home Affairs present one in a budget estimate, boasts $5.3 million, saying we have investment in the youth and the anti-violence program. I would have never believed 2 months ago, right in this honorable house, we were boasting about this program. Now tell me, what could happen if we could just drop this program in the water? Show me an MIE, show me something to justify, because this look crazy in my mind when I try to picture it. We not just walk away from the youth without an explanation, without a reason. I really form the conclusion that the PUP government feel miserable with crime, feel miserable with the LIU program. You fail to uplift the youths in Belize City. You fail to conduct proper impact assessment. You fail to conduct internal audits within the FIU. You reach the point that we fail to curb gang murders. Even the great SOE. Murders continue through the SOE. Where's the answer to crime? This government doesn't seem to have one. I question who is responsible for this monumental failure. The government wants you to think that the city youths, they just don't want to learn, they just don't want to be a part of the system, blah, blah, blah. The government also will think that the LIU management team, then they allow ghost workers, they're doing what they want. Not at all. Not at all. The reality is the government is the only one that can be blamed for this failure of the FIU. They have no alternative work program in it. They have no real solution. When you take away the only income the at-risk youths have, you leave them without a livelihood. I wonder if the Minister of Home Affairs could feel the Belize City experience in the sense that you have nothing else to look for and you take the income away. I think we're unique. You have areas like Cayo, areas like Orange Walk, where the Prime Minister comes from. Many more opportunities exist there. I learned that when you drop out of school, many ways you could get manual labor in Belize City. It's hard to find a job if you're uneducated. In fact, even if you go live somewhere in Belize City, you have to pay rent. You don't have no family member, no big piece of land, because the land in the villages far bigger to accommodate your son, whatever, as they grow up generations after generations within the land. Belize City has no space for that. I just feel that this government, they renege on a social duty, on a social contract with the people. We on this side, we support the LIU program as integral, as being a lifeline for underperforming youths in Belize City. It's really a hard issue when you try to find the road to economic independence for youths in Belize City, but it's not one that we should give up in. You see, taxes support and it boosts all Belizeans, from young to old, from those working to those not working. It's really a social safety net that you can take the taxes and use it for different programs, the performing programs and underperforming programs. But there's no way you could end this program and not expect that our city youths want to suffer. There's no way I could see it. If you could show me a better way, seriously, I want to listen to it. What are these unemployed at-risk youths doing now? That's another question that I have. Anybody check since then to see what they're doing now? Belize City have how many constituencies? 10? It no matter as long as we there are three seats.
Member from Queen's Square, please continue.
Yes. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, a young man just starting his family. The first thing I need to think about, how you feed the family, you have to earn. As much as they have other programs within LIU, you need to earn. You could give an educational after-school programs, you could give an whatever, but you have to earn. Member from Lekai, he knows the gang situation in Belize City, just like I do. We're home to gangs in Belize City. I expect we hear DPM step up and say, no, we have to solve this problem because he mess up. Albert, we all have it. I believe even member for Fort George, we know what it is in this city. It's different in this city. Orange Walk don't have it the same way. Belmopan, Cayo don't have it the same way. Member for Port Loyola, stand up. This is your moment for shine. I just feel that they want to do whatever. I could imagine as a youth, grow up in a Queen's Square, I had an opportunity because my mom and dad, they were there with me every step of the way, walk me to school, walk me back home from school because the gang element, always they invite you, step on the side, come with me. If you want to make something easy, I have this for you. Literally to standard 6. I had to get walk home. And it's sad when I see everybody go home, boys and girls walking happily. Watch who they had to get for me. Mommy and daddy to wait for me every evening. But that's what it takes to come out. I'm glad, yes, and I'll deny that. But I want more people to have the opportunity to come out. That's why I make this stand today. I think the government could put on a thinking cap, create like an LIU board. We have members from the opposition as well as social partners to get a full feeling for everybody how we could deal with this issue because that's a national issue. We also need a non-political interference. I asked the PM seriously talk to the members from Parliament. We keep going to any place and say, please make sure this one have a job. Please make sure that one get fired, because I see and talk to the UDP member before the election. We got to stop play politics with crime. I can tell you this from personal experience in Queen Square. Guys from the streets say, I don't want to talk to you because they have cut me off of the program. We have to implement a strategy. Bring an M&E plan. Monitor it, evaluate it, bring a report, make we understand what happened. But you can't tell me 2 months after the budget read, after we celebrate, something gone drastically wrong, that we just kick it away completely. It makes no sense in my view. The opposition believes the LIU work program was a good plan. As your representative for Queen Square, I asked the PM to reconsider. I asked the Minister of Home Affairs to reconsider. That's it for me, guys. Thank you.
Recognize the member from Belmopan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as I sat and listened to the member for Queen Square, it makes me wonder what he's talking about, because it's certainly you're not talking about what you mentioned a successful LIU. You may be probably talking about LIE, a lie, because the LIU has not been stopped. That has not been stopped. The restructuring of the LIU is now focusing on the next generation of at-risk youths. Now, what you didn't do in the last 10 to 15 years, to those that are involved in criminal activities right now, difficult to change them. But we can concentrate on the younger ones, the ones who have not fallen prey, the ones who have not joined those criminal gangs, and those who have not been brainwashed by this our easy thing, like what I used to tell you. That's where we are concentrating on. They have somebody where they can't come back, you know. They have been entrenched and they have been ingrained, and then they wonder, so unfortunately, we have to deal with them differently. And I'm sure you can agree with me. And we want to focus on the next generation of youth through education, through sports, and life skills development that will have an impact on the future of our people. It cannot be that all we think about is to use LIU as an employment agency and have these youths and people employed the clean or drain, chop the side of the road, and feel that this is a dignified way of removing them from that criminal activity that is very much more lucrative than what we are offering. We have to change. We have to change. We cannot continue doing the same thing and expect that we will have different results. And I really looked hard at the LIU. I really looked hard at the LIU because last year we spent $6 million. I want to see results. I don't want to see just continue the same old. I want to see results. And I want to see a reduction in crime. Results should be reduction in crime. Results should be these youths given the opportunity of doing something better, making sure that they can tend for themselves, not keep them on a social program forever. We can't do that, man. We have to give them something better. And those youths, and I have told them, nobody never stop this thing abruptly, you know. This is months in the making. This is months in the making. I said, you know what? No, we just can't pull the plug and up here on next month. But look at how we can restructure the LIU. LIU are not just one big employer. We need to do things different. We need to concentrate on those young people who don't have the opportunity, and right now more than ever you could go to school, you know, if you want to. You want to have that, you want to change. You want to make sure that we get these youths who want to go to school. And we will give you the opportunity, you know. We sponsor trade school programs. We'll support with placement after graduation. We'll support with entrepreneurship in building constructions and other small. We were discussing this with LIU and those in charge, and I said, listen, tell me something that their people can do. Not going to tell me that they have more drains than need for clean, because that's not what I believe. That's not what I think. Give me something better. And we are now focusing in those same areas and getting these youths who want to go and learn a trade. Somebody, listen, right now, construction, for example. It's one example that came up. Cement blocks. We don't have enough. Construction's all over the place. How much will it take to teach them guys to do a cement factory? Give them something dignified. I know I'm saying they go chop no yard and clean no drain. Give them something that they can feel good about themselves. How many chairs do we use every year in all our schools? And I talk about Belize City, how much primary school is it? Can't we teach these guys how to be carpenters and how to build a chair on this and supply? I think we can do a lot more. And this is a task that I have given to LIU. We know to stop the intervention part of it. And let me tell you something. During a visit to the ones that are at Colway Foundation, and let me just share with you what was discussed in there. After discussing with them and doing the intervention work that the LIU always does, because we have been meeting with them every week, they were shared with them and said, listen, the LIU needs to change. We have to do things different. And this is what I was reported, and this is what was felt in that meeting. The detainees responded with excitement at the possibility of moving from drain cleaning type employment into more dignified and sustainable work. Many of them immediately began to see themselves not just as workers, but as persons capable of being trained, producing goods, earning income, and contributing to something constructive. Several of them also spoke about their own small business interests and ideas. I think that the task that I gave the director and those that work at LIU, it's something that goes beyond a social program. It is something that I want to make sure that we give the youth an opportunity to move away. Because if they have something better than what they're doing there, they will go for it. But if they don't, they will go right back into the same criminal activity that they have been introduced to. And I've been speaking to my colleagues as well, and I see the need. As I said to them, LIU is not over. It's a good program. It is something that is needed. As I mentioned before, the intervention part of it is being done, but we need to restructure and reevaluate, because you know something, it is hard-earned Belizean taxpayers' money that is being spent. People who work hard. People work hard to contribute to the LIU. And there must be a way to remove these youths from that lifestyle. And we can't do it the way we are doing it before. And we're going to move forward, structuring and making sure that these people are given an opportunity to better themselves and better their families.
I recognize the member from Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know it has been a long day and I don't intend to be too long, but I do think it's important that we take stock, all of us, on what seems to be becoming more and more violations of our fundamental rights and freedoms and protections as citizens of Belize by actors of our state. This right here, I think we should be all familiar, is the Belize Constitution, Mr. Speaker, Chapter 4 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2022. It outlines, Mr. Speaker, among other things, the protection of the fundamental rights and freedoms afforded to every citizen of Belize under this supreme law of the land. Mr. Speaker, I wish to outline a matter that is growing, that came into sharp focus over the past weekend. The case is deeply perturbing and is seen by many as a gross abuse of authority and overreach by officers of the state and the very public institution that has a sworn responsibility to protect our citizens. It is as though, Mr. Speaker, that the escalating violent crime, the many cases of domestic violence against women and children, the growing number of home evasions, theft and daylight robberies, the urgent need for greater police presence in the neighborhoods in spite of the SOE that is now in place are not enough issues to keep the relevant authorities engaged and fully occupied. For any Belizean to be treated in a manner that violates their fundamental rights and freedoms in this country.
On a point of order, what is the issue that the honorable leader of the opposition is bringing up? Because it's supposed to be one urgent matter and it's been going on over the place and we still don't know what she's talking about.
Well, you weren't listening, member for Orange Walk Central. The matter of national concern is the violation of our fundamental rights and freedoms by actors of the state. If you listen, you might learn a thing or two. According to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, citizens of Belize still enjoy the freedom of expression, the freedom of conscience, the freedom of speech. Mr. Speaker, when the Cyberbullying Act was approved in 2020, right here in this honorable house, it was envisioned that the act would protect our citizens against hate crimes, sexual exploitation of young women via revenge porn, malicious and fake social media pages targeting students, young children being lured by adults to engage in illicit activity, and to protect private citizens from sustained attacks that are meant to disparage their reputation and to cause emotional, psychological, and physical harm. Mr. Speaker, Belizeans across the length and breadth of Belize are still asking one question: the who thief Budna? Too many unanswered questions. Why hasn't anyone been held to account for beating him, kidnapping him, and handing him over to hostile territory without due process, the right to natural justice, and the right to legal representation? Where is the evidence? That should have been handed over to the DPP. If you listen to the lame excuses of the member for Orange Walk Central, the matter is now in the hands of the DPP. If you listen to the DPP, the file received was not just nothing, it was less than nothing, making it nearly impossible for her office to review the circumstances of the case and to make recommendations on how the perpetrator or perpetrators are to be held to account. Mr. Budna, Mr. Speaker, is entitled, according to the Constitution of Belize, to the protection of the law and the right to legal representation. Mr. Speaker, we witness every day violations of fundamental rights and freedoms of our citizens and the lack of protection under the law. Every time a government employee is targeted and their job security threatened because of his or her political affiliation, there is a violation. Protection from freedom of assembly and association is a fundamental right. Every time a police officer kicks down a door, searches a home, and damages personal property without cause or a warrant, he violates or she violates the protection our citizens have from arbitrary search or entry, protection, and a protection to the right of privacy. Every time a young man is stopped in his neighborhood, searched, slapped around when seeking to understand what he has done, verbally and physically abused, and then thrown into the pan of a police mobile, held for 48 hours, and then released without explanation, we violate the freedom of movement and protection from inhumane treatment. Every time, Mr. Speaker, a motorist is stopped at a checkpoint and treated like a criminal because they dare to inquire to seek clarification why they're being stopped and searched. Every time a public officer, Mr. Speaker, is demoted or removed from his or her post because they refuse to follow a directive that is not grounded in established organizational policy or law, we are violating our citizens' rights and their right to protection, to personal liberty. Mr. Speaker, every time the government imposes an SOE as a tool for crime prevention, conducts Operation Clean Sweep, and picks up every black or Hispanic young man that looks and locks them down for 30 days at a time without them having a prior conviction, they are not only criminalizing our young people or black men who are already a vulnerable population, we are also violating their constitutional rights. Protections of persons detained under emergency laws and protection from discrimination on the grounds of race. Our black men are profiled every day. Mr. Speaker, every time a piece of Crown land is taken away from a leaser and reassigned to a political crony because of their political affiliation or the constituency they live in, their fundamental rights, freedoms and protections and privileges are being violated as a citizen. The Constitution, Mr. Speaker, affords all citizens protection from arbitrary deprivation of property. Mr. Speaker, every time parents of a newborn baby are refused the proof of birth for their babies, for whatever reason, so that the babies can be afforded their inalienable rights for birthright. Mr. Speaker, our Constitution speaks explicitly in its preamble, and I quote, that equal protection should be given to children regardless of their social status, and a justice system should be ensued to provide for basic education, basic health, and on the basis of equality. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, the CEO in the Ministry of Health can attest of how many phone calls he has received from me to address this issue of proof of birth. It is actually, in my view, criminal to deny a child born in this country their right to be a Belizean citizen. We cannot seem to resolve the issue. Mr. Speaker, in free and fair elections, the people of Belize voted to ensure that their representatives do everything in our power to protect their fundamental rights and freedoms and to ensure that they have protection under the law. We did not vote for a regime that is becoming more and more authoritarian, aloof, callous, arrogant. We did not vote for our fundamental rights, freedoms, and protections afforded to us by the supreme law of the land to be violated by state actors. The people of Belize voted to uphold our democratic way of life, where all Belizeans, regardless of race, place of origin, socioeconomic background, color, creed, political affiliation, political ideology, will be provided, shall be provided equal protection under the law. Mr. Speaker, a government's first and foremost responsibility is to its citizens. You talk about future focus. as though it's something you pick up at a store. All citizens, period, all Belizean citizens are afforded fundamental rights and freedoms as outlined in the Constitution of Belize. It is time that some of our state institutions and our state actors, it is time for some of our political leaders to get off their high horses and carry out the mandate of the people, first and foremost, to protect their fundamental rights and freedoms outlined in Chapter 4 of the Laws of Belize. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am going to forgive the leader of the opposition. She is so tired that she got confused about the time, because it's obvious that she's talking about the UTP government for the past 13 years. She did a wonderful job in describing how they used to behave. So I'll give her a pass. I would not waste my time in answering what she said. So what I can tell you is that this government, we respect the Constitution, we believe in the rule of law, and our people are freer than ever before. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and God bless everyone. I adjourn.
Honorable members, the question is that the House now do adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.